Welcome back, this is Goku's Son DBZ, and welcome to a new top 10 list. This is top 10 PSX or PS1 games worth buying. Now these are my personal picks, these aren't my favorite games, just so you know. These are games I think that depend on the type of genre and game you're into. PS1 is one of the best consoles to collect for because of the library, and being basically tied for being the second best-selling game console of all time, with over 100 million units sold worldwide. It's no surprise there is such a great library for this console. Given there is more than 4,000 games total on the original PlayStation, of course we only got a selected amount, over here about half of that. But with that said, here is, in my opinion, 10 PS1 games worth buying. And stay tuned in the near future for a top 10 PS2 games worth buying. First, honorable mentions. First up is a kind of cool Jet Fighter, very interesting game. It's called, of course, as you see, Warhawk. There was a newer game based on this, but the original game, was a release for the PS1. It's actually a really weird and out there game, like you attack a pyramid and different stuff. It's a very interesting Jet Fighter game. It's not exactly your traditional Jet Fighter games. Maybe that's why I like this game so much. And believe me when I say, this is a really good pickup. It's fun. Hasn't aged the greatest, but it is good for collecting, and it's cheap. I found this for $1 on eBay, so yeah. This is a very cheap and easy game to get a hold of, if you can find it for a good price. Next up, honorable mention is, of course, Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back. Yeah, I originally first played the original Crash Bandicoot, but for me, I thought Crash 2 was overall a better and superior game in many ways. I personally preferred the music as well as the overall storytelling and elements better in this game versus the first game. This third game is not bad. I really like it too, but for me, this is hands down the best of the trilogy. But with newer consoles now, obviously, you can just get the Insane Trilogy, which is probably better. But for PS1 collectors out there, it isn't a bad idea to try to get a hold, because the game is not really super expensive yet. Next honorable mention is actually one I found. Originally, sadly, I opened it stupidly, but I actually found this still factory sealed for no more than $20. Brand new. That shows this is not a super high demand game, though. The price now is starting to go up a little bit here and there. This was actually one of the last old school type beat 'em up games. This would be one of the first and few beat 'em ups in 3D. And it is definitely fun. Flying Force is great to play with a friend, since you can have two-player co-op. It makes things a lot more fun, honestly. Next honorable mention is a combination puzzle platformer game. And this is definitely a good game worth collecting. And that is Oddworld Abe's Exodus. Now, the original Oddworld has been shown by many people. It's not a bad game. I'm definitely not a fan of Muncher's Odyssey or those Xbox games and stuff. To me, this is easily the best game in the Oddworld franchise. I just overall feel this game is a lot more fun, and it really added on to elements same place in the first game. And yes, you can actually do two-player co-op in this game as well, which is not exactly common among, of course, platformer games, especially from this era. Now, this game was sort of a merger of both 2D and 3D animation elements. So it was like one of the first 2.5D, I guess, games you could say. Next honorable mention is one, of course, I recently played in Sakura Legacy. And this is Street Fighter EX Plus A. which of course AKA plus Alpha. Now this game is definitely a lot of fun. Personally, originally I kind of liked the third game a little bit because there's certain elements in it, but overall, the more I've replayed all the games in the EX series, the more I have to say the first one is probably my favorite now. I just enjoy it overall, and at least you can play with Sakura. The second game, for some reason, does not have her in it. Next up, in my opinion, is maybe the best of the Twisted Metal franchise, at least of the PS1 era games, anyways. Graphically, it's about the same as the first game. There are a few graphical improvements, and I do like the major final boss, which is, of course, supposed to be Sweet Tooth's dad, if I remember correctly. But overall, it's a really fun game. And really, in general, Twisted Metal is a fun series. I mean, it's a fun series to collect for. I mean, I've collected Twisted Metal 1, Twisted Metal 2, Twisted Metal 3, 4. I don't have Head On. Twisted Metal Black is easily the darkest of the franchise. And definitely, probably, maybe the best game overall, gameplay-wise, in the mechanics. Still, Twisted Metal 2 holds a special place for me as probably my favorite of the franchise. But it is definitely worth collecting. Really, if you get a chance to collect any of the old school Twisted Metal games. I haven't played the reboot, but I've heard a lot of people don't care much for it. Next honorable mention is a very overlooked and very underrated game for the PS1. And that is a special side-type game to the original Metal Gear Solid called Metal Gear Solid VR Missions. Now, this just has a set of different types of special missions and stuff that you can do. And it is unfortunate that this game does not get more respect than you, believe it or not. That is a Blockbuster sticker. Because I purchased this when one of the local Blockbusters was closing their doors. I bought several older games from them. And this being one of the games, as soon as I saw this, for a good price I might add, because I paid less than $10 for it, and it's definitely worth like $10. So if you get the chance, check out Metal Gear Solid VR Missions. It's definitely worth your time. Second to last honorable mention. This is a sort of a crossover of a survival horror, well, elements of horror, combined with a hack and slash game. Yes, as you see, done by Activision. It's got a sequel. I never played the sequel, but I always did enjoy this game for some reason. And if you're asking, yeah, for the most part, you can usually find this game for a very reasonable price range. I personally picked this one up, the Black Label, which it's better try to get that if you can find a reasonable price than the Greatest Hits version. But, like, you can a lot of times pick this game up for definitely under $10. So it's definitely not a bad one to check out. If you like horror-themed games, it's definitely worth a chance. Last honorable mention is a awesome game, which this is the only console port of the game. Now, of course, this is the sequel, part 2 of 3 original Warcraft games before we would have World of Warcraft. Which, never played World of Warcraft, but I love Warcraft 2. The Dark Saga. It's a really fun game overall, I will say. And if you get the opportunity to play this game, definitely jump at it. It was one of the few times Blizzard, of course, did actual port for consoles. PS1 would get 2 Blizzard game ports, actually. They would get Warcraft 2, Dark Saga. They would also get the original Diablo, which I'm still trying to track down. Now, this game, on the other hand, when I picked it up for about $25 or so. Now the game is going for more than $50 on average. So, it's definitely going up in price. If you can find a reasonable price on Warcraft 2, definitely get it. Coming in at number 10. It's already seemed to be having issues with the camera. And that is at number 10. Most people would probably put this at number 1, being their favorites. For me, of course, it's not my favorite Final Fantasy game, hands down. It's a good, solid game, and I understand why this game still stands as the best-selling game for Square Enix to this very day. Well, at least for now, Final Fantasy XIV is close to surpassing 7. But 7 is still really cool. It's a really fun game. If you get a chance to actually just pick up the digital HD re-release port of the game for PS4 or something, or mobile, I mean, you can go ahead, but to me, nothing beats playing the original experience on a original PlayStation. Or, of course, you can play PS1 as well as on PS2 and PS3. Even though only selected PS3s have backwards compatibility with PS2, they do, however, have complete backwards compatibility with PS1. So, if you have a PS3, but you don't have a PSX or a PS2, for instance, still, you can play PS1 games. So, if you get the opportunity, coming in number 10, definitely try out Final Fantasy VII, especially with the Materia system. Coming in number 9 is a highly underrated fighting game, amazing, from Square Soft, back in these days. Now, of course, known as Square Enix. And that is an awesome samurai-style sword fighting game called Bushido Blade. This was actually one of the first fighting game franchises weapon-based combat games, along with, of course, other games such as Soul Blade, aka Soul Edge, as well as Battle Royale Shinden, which was probably one of the first. But to me, this is very different. You have no life bar, and you have really not much actual music. It's more based on the environment that you're in. Open, free range to move around freely, to dodge attacks and stuff. You could do like minor swipes, which may injure your opponent's like arm or leg or something, and a lethal hit immediately kills them. So, it's more based around real realm of reality. And for a video game, that is what makes Bushido Blade very unique to any other fighting game, because it's more based around the realm of actual reality, of how things really work. Coming in number 8 is in my opinion, the best of the Alpha series, and easily probably the best Street Fighter game to play on the original PlayStation. Is Super Nintendo version okay? It's okay, but because of the pausing and stuff, and the actual load times on Alpha 2 is not that bad, to be honest, compared to other PS1 fighters. Maybe it's because of being a 2D fighter, but whatever. But nevertheless, it's a really good fun game. If you get the opportunity, try out Street Fighter Alpha 2, also known as Street Fighter Zero 2 in Japan. Coming in at number 7 is an amazing JRPG exclusive for the original PlayStation, and it was a 4-disc game. And of course, it's called Legend of Dragoon. It's an incredible fighting game. Oh, not fighting game, but JRPG. And definitely, I wish Sony would re-release this game with an HD treatment. I really feel Legend of Dragoon is a game that's very highly underrated versus other JRPGs out there. It's a really fun overall game. It has a lot of great side quests and stuff. It's not linear like a lot of stuff nowadays, but it's a really fun series, and if you like JRPGs in general, or curious to try other types of RPGs that are not Final Fantasy, give Legend of Dragoon a shot. Coming at number 6. Yes, I know it would not be, it's my number 1 personal favorite PS1 game of all time. But comes at number 6 on recommendations. And that is Final Fantasy VIII. Which sadly gets way too much hate. And what amazes me is this game actually outsold Final Fantasy VII in Japan. And yeah, of course, this is sadly a Greatest Hits version. And besides saying Greatest Hits, of course, it says Square Enix. When the game was originally released, it said Square Soft. This was released in 1999. So it'd be the last game of the 20th century of the Final Fantasy series. Graphically, this game is amazing for PS1 era graphics. It is far superior to Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy IX, and Tactics. And I love the draw system personally. Coming in number 5, an actual exclusive, of course, to the original PlayStation from Konami, back when Konami gave a crap about their fans. The original Silent Hill. This is a true classic game. If you ever get the opportunity to play the original Silent Hill, do it. It's seriously really fun, and I love the whole atmosphere elements of this game. Just creepy, and that's what makes a good survival horror game in my opinion. Coming in at number 4, Metal Gear Solid. This is the biggie, of course, from Kojima. Though there were 2 Metal Gear games on the Super Nintendo, this would be the game that really brought this series to the forefront as one of the best-selling game franchises. Metal Gear Solid was revolutionary for its time, with things such as cinematic style, like movie quality clips and stuff. Graphically, it's not aged well, but it's definitely still, in my opinion, definitely a fundamental game to own on the original PlayStation. Coming in at number 3 is easily in my opinion, maybe at least tied for being the best fighting game on the console. And also the best weapon-based fighting game on the PS1 and from that generation. Soul Blade, known as Soul Edge in Japan. Of course, the game that started the Soul Calibur franchise. And of course, that is Lei Long, Maxie's dad. But seriously, if you ever get a chance to pick this up, you can a lot of times buy this for under $20. It's definitely worth picking up. It's a lot of fun. And the soundtracks are amazing. Coming in at number 2 from Capcom, Resident Evil 2. This was the original version of the game, before you could use analog sticks and stuff, unfortunately, in this game. But this movie was released, of course, in 1998. This went on to become easily one of the most, if not maybe just about the most beloved game in the series, at least in my opinion. Though a lot of people would say Resident Evil 4. But in my opinion, this is easily the superior game. And last but not least, number 1 from Squaresoft/Square Enix, Final Fantasy IX. This is honestly a very incredible game. Now, at once upon a time I would have said this game is underrated, but given how much response it gets from fellow YouTubers and other gamers alike nowadays online, I wouldn't consider this game underrated anymore. Though it's sad that still this game was very highly overlooked for many years. It's unfortunate because the actual in-game mechanics of this game are solid, the storytelling is good, and I kind of like the villain, honestly, in this game. And the characters are interesting as well. And of course this would be the introduction of the character Vivi, which we would get to also see in the prologue, first 4 hours of Kingdom Hearts 2. But this is seriously a really fun game, and if you ever get the chance, check out Final Fantasy IX. And the soundtrack to this game is freaking amazing. But anyways, that's my picks for, in my opinion, 10 of the best PS1 games, and definitely worth collecting. Tell me in your opinion what are some of your personal favorite games on the PS1, and what games would you suggest to people to collect. And I'll see you all next time. Same YouTube time, same YouTube channel, and I'm working on a couple more comic book reviews, and stay tuned for more uploads today from Dragon Ball FighterZ. See you then.